Welcome to today's webinar. This is the open office hours with Mark Stepp, and we're going to go over some of the reporting capabilities that Realvolve gives you through the Google add-on. So a few years ago, we had a lot of real estate agents say, "Hey, I need this data, I need that data," and within the dashboard, if you go to the dashboard of Realvolve, there are some, let me just go over here. There are some, reporting options as far as, year-to-date volume, stuff like that. You can do some team reporting, but in many cases, it's just not enough for what agents want. They want to be able to break out that data and do some more with it. So a couple years ago, I created an add-on for Google Sheets. And in that add-on, you could bring in the data from Realvolve and then manipulate it however you wanted to. So what I want to do today is just kind of go over that process, go over kind of how to quickly set that piece up and be able to use it in your business. So let me see here. So one of the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to make this available to, let me just copy that link. Some of these links, I'm going to make them available to you in the replay, and I'll go ahead and also put them into the chat. If you've not ever set this up, we do have, and I just put it into the chat, a link that lets you get a kind of a master copy of the spreadsheet itself. So I'm going to paste that in here just to kind of show you. I've started an incognito window, which keeps me from looking like anybody. So it's going to have me do a little login. I'm going to log in as Workflow Secrets here. Next, just a general thing. Let me just confirm that. Okay, so whenever you do it, whenever you click on that link, it's going to come up this option that says copy document. So the master document that we have in our folder, we don't want you guys being able to mess with them. So all we want you to do is copy it. So what you will do is once you click on that link, you will click on make a copy. What this does then is it will take our master and put it into your Google account. So that now this master copy is yours. You can do with it whatever you want to do with it. And I'm going to go ahead and just rename this so that I have a different name on this. So come up here and say trainer, and I'm doing that because I'm using my trainer Realvolve account. Realvolve account. You can do whatever you want to do, name that whatever you want. So just a quick look at what this spreadsheet has on it. There are some pre-built number crunching type of spreadsheet elements. So there's like the property summary by status. So you can see by if it's an active property, pending, closed, expired, withdrawn, and then it would put in a bunch of the numbers. We've got one in here for property summary by date range. So you can specify a date range for different statuses and get those. There's an active and pending. So there's a few that are just kind of pre-built type of spreadsheets that you can use. You can manipulate them however you want, change them however you want. That's for the listings. There's similar types of things for the transactional side, for the closings that you may have. Now, what these elements, these sheets do is they draw the data from a data source of some sort. And that data source is actually a spreadsheet. So what we're doing is down here at the bottom, you'll see it says Realvolve property data and Realvolve transaction data. These are two different data sources. Right now, they're totally blank. But what we're going to do is fill them with the Realvolve data. And the question is how do you do that? What's the property information. Where's that come from? So what we're going to do is go over that process. So the way we do that is up here at the toolbar at the top, there's a section here called extensions in Google Sheets. And there's a section, whenever you click on that, for add-ons. We're going to get an add-on. And the add-on that we're going to get, it'll bring us to the marketplace. And these are just a bunch of different add-ons that you can add to Google Sheets. And I'm going to just type in Realvolve. And whenever you do that, you'll see that there's an item here for Realvolve reporting. So we're going to click on that. And we are going to, you can see some of the basic information and stuff in there, and just click on install and continue. It's going to ask for permissions. Yes. Oh, of course, I need to put in some kind of code here. 1 second. Because I'm coming in as incognito, it doesn't recognize me, which is, I'm doing that so that it looks more like you guys. If I did this through my account, I've got the master account, so it wouldn't give me all of these options. There's a section here for, hey, just want to make sure you're granting access to Realvolve reporting. Are you sure you want to allow it? And the answer is yes to allow. So click on allow. And then it goes through and it starts going through the add-ons. So it just kind of tells you, hey, you're going to find the Realvolve reporting in the add-ons section now. So click on done there. And you'll see that once it's installed, you'll have an option to uninstall it. If you don't want it, you can certainly uninstall it. But now if we go in under extensions, under the down here at the bottom, there's now a section here called Realvolve reporting. So from this point forward, you don't have to do that again. It's just a matter of getting that installed the first time. Google Sheets now knows that you have a Realvolve reporting add-on, and you can use it on virtually any spreadsheet that you've got, whether it's whether it's this master one or if it's some other one that maybe you've already got pre-set up. But what it will do is, if these three tabs down here at the bottom, the Realvolve reporting data, Realvolve transaction data, and actually this Realvolve settings area, if these exist, it will update them. If it doesn't exist, it will create them. So this is where we're going to be putting some data from Realvolve. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the extensions, Realvolve reporting, get Realvolve data, because we want to fill this information up. So whenever you do that, over on the right-hand side, it creates a little toolbar for you so that you can do some additional stuff. I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit. You have two options for setting this up, and it kind of depends on what you're wanting to do as far as who puts it in there for you. If you're the only one using it, you can just log in using your Realvolve login. So put in my case, I could put in my Realvolve for my account, my email and password, and it would let me in and log in. If you've got an assistant and the assistant is going to do this on your behalf, it's actually a little bit better for you to put this in using the API key. And what is the API key? The API key is a special key that's assigned just to you so that you can integrate with other applications. So to find that API key, you would go into your Realvolve account, click on the down arrow by your photo, and go into settings. In the settings area, we've got this section called integrations, and that allows us to integrate with different applications. And if you scroll down, there's a section here for utility API. You can just copy that, and then once I copy that, I can go back over here and say enter my API key. There's a little button there. You just click on that, and it's going to ask you for it. And I'm just going to paste that in and then hit OK. So what that does is that says, okay, we've got this spreadsheet. Whose data do we need to pull from in Realvolve? And that makes that link. So if you've got an assistant, you don't necessarily want to pull the assistant's data or whatever, but you want to use your API for your login and get in there if you don't want to give your assistant your login. Does that make sense? Hope so.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm following along so far. I don't want to get behind. If I'm a single user right now, but I may have an assistant in the future, should I put my API key in right now?
You can change it at any time. If you get the assistant later, you can go ahead and add it at that point. No big deal.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a matter of kind of where you're at the current point in time. So now there's like 3 little tabs here. The setup we just did, so if you wanted to go in there and make any changes, you can certainly do that. The next thing is the property and transaction criteria. Now, I have to confess, I'm using my trainer account, so there's not a lot of great data in here, to be honest. And right before this session, I was trying to kind of get some stuff updated. So this may or may not have some great data, but we're going to kind of go with it. What I want to do is select what year do I want to pull the data from. So you can pull it from a given year of information, or there is a kind of the last year plus current option as well on here. Everybody seems to use one or the other. I'm going to pull the 2021, since this is 2022. I'm going to pull last year's data. Not that there's a whole lot of really good stuff in there compared to what you guys should have, but you put that in there. So as soon as you put in the date over on the right hand side, it'll give you the option. It'll actually go out to the Realvolve account. It will grab some data and it kind of stores it in a holding memory area for just a few seconds, and then says, okay, what do you want me to do with it? And it gives you the option here to fill the data sheets. So you'll see that I did do this for 2021 for both the property and the transactions section. So both of those are selected. If you only want to get one or the other, you can, but I'd normally just leave them both checked and don't worry about it. Click on Fill Data Sheets. Now what it's doing is it's taking the data that's in Realvolve and it's populating the spreadsheet. How cool is that? So it does it for the property side, and then it does it for the transaction side. And then it goes in and it tries to fill in some basic information in the Realvolve settings. And I want to go over this particular part because it's pretty important if you're in a team situation. So where we get all of this information is just kind of filled in based off of some of the data. The date ranges aren't, they're actually calculations. But this agents side right here is based off of information from the property. So it kind of comes over here and it looks at who is the seller agent on a given property for the property that did bring in. And it'll show you, who is that agent. And based off of unique values in this, it goes ahead and populates the agents. Now, if you're on a team and you've got somebody that doesn't ever list property, but they sell the buyer's agents, the calculation really doesn't do us much good. What it's doing is it's looking at that property data and it's finding the unique names out of there. So there's a little formula there that it's looking at, and ultimately it fills it in. It will work great for single users, but if you're on a team and you have some people that don't have properties in the property side, they just do buyer's side stuff, then you've got kind of a challenge. And what you need to do is just manually type in the agents' names that are on that team. Okay, but you can go through and do that process. And what you want to do is make sure that whatever data you type in, it exactly matches whatever the name is for that column. So in this case, I do have Joe agent. I do have some unknowns, which basically I guess I just didn't select some of them, and then all those. But if I come over here to the transaction data, I could have, let me go over here. So we have this column here for M. Column M is the seller agent full name, and we've got a buyer agent full name. If you've got a team member that's in this column and they're not showing up in that Realvolve setting, just copy that data and then paste them into this list. And you may just need to wipe out, because this is a calculation and it fills in the entire column of what it can find. You'll just have to put in everybody manually. Okay, so a little setup there is done. So this is the cool part. Because we're drawing that data from Realvolve, it throws it in here. Now we can use any of these columns of information for some summaries, calculations, lookups, whatever it is that you want to do with a spreadsheet. Now, I know not everybody is a spreadsheet guru, but it's really not too tough to find it on Google. Just do a Google for, certain formulas or whatever. But, and before I go too far here, once you've got that data in here, you can just close the little wizard toolbar, the add-on piece. You don't need it anymore. It just kind of grabs it and goes. The other thing about that is anytime you want to update the data, just go back to your extensions, go back to Realvolve, get the data, and do the same process. What it does is it will wipe out the data that's here and refresh it with the new data, and then everything is hunky-dory. I kind of date myself with that word, don't I? Hunky-dory. The other important part of this is if you see data that's wrong in here, don't think that you can go in here and change it and it stay all the time. What you really want to do is go into Realvolve, change the data there, so that the next time it pulls it in, it gets the most accurate data. Does that make sense? Hope so. Okay.
I have a quick question for you again.
Yes.
When you go back to that extensions box over to the right, you pulled in the data by going to the second box, property transaction criteria, right?
Correct.
But what is the box that says contact criteria, gather data? What does that do?
So it does the same type of thing. These are set up for the properties and transactions. You can also bring in data for your contacts. So if I click on gather data, it will go out to my database and it will start retrieving the data of my contacts. Now I've got 486 contacts in my database, and it's a slow process. I mean, it brings it in, and it brings them in groups of 500. So if you've got 2,000, it's going to go kind of through this counting process 4 times, okay, 500 at a time. In this case, I've got less than 500, so it's just going to go through this one time. But it goes through the process, it grabs the data, and just like the other one where it was kind of in a holding area, once it's here, that gather data option will go away, and it says, okay, now we can fill the data. So what we'll have is, let me see, I don't have on the master sheet here, a tab, but it'll go ahead and create it. If I click on fill data here, then it will go ahead and create a Realvolve contact data spreadsheet and throws everything in there as well. So now I can do some manipulation of that. So it created two additional tabs. It created this Realvolve contact data at the bottom, and it also created the Realvolve contact settings. And if I go to the settings, same type of thing. As far as some setup stuff, if you're in a team setting, you've got lots of users and stuff, here's one thing that you do have to do right now, because the interface didn't allow me to do it originally. But if you go in, there's 2 columns here for user ID and username. So if I come in over on Realvolve and I click on Dashboard, you'll see up here at the top it has the URL. Whenever you click on the dashboard, there's a little URL here. This little number at the very beginning is that agent's ID number. So I could just double click on that little number, copy it, go back over to my spreadsheet, and that user ID is here. And I can paste it in, and then I can just type in Joe Agent. Again, this is my sample stuff, so it doesn't really have my real name. But what this is there is data in this. Let me come over here to contacts. We have lots of like assigned agent ID information. There's some other ID, and we're not sending over the name, we're sending over the ID of that contact. And you need that in order to do some of the lookup stuff. So 158 is this Joe Agent. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And then I noticed it doesn't populate for Joe Agent on all of them, just the one you put it on, right?
Correct. So now if I go in and I start looking at some of my reporting pieces, transactional, actually, Realvolve contact, Realvolve settings, transaction sources. I was thinking there was one more, there's some other reporting elements, and I'm not seeing it on here. Anyway, we'll come back to that. But what that does is that gives you access to all your data in a spreadsheet. So now you can do other things. Maybe you want to set up a spreadsheet for seeing how many people are married or how many people are in your category that are married, and you want to do some charting and some stuff like that. You've got access to all the data there to do whatever you want to with it. So some cool tools, just basically a big data dump of everything that you've got in the database. Tags are in there.
Mark?
Yes.
Sorry, just a quick remark. I'm trying to enter API key. That link doesn't work. We tried to put my login. It doesn't. Nothing happens. So we're kind of watching you, but we're way behind. Can't access.
Yeah. So your API, making sure you get the right API, because there are two APIs there. If you go in under the settings area, and go into integrations, there is a Zapier API key. You don't want that one. That's just for Zapier. If you scroll on down to the utility API, just click on the little copy icon there.
Yep.
And that'll copy it. So then whenever you go back over to your settings piece here and you choose enter API key, paste that in.
Yeah, I've tried that a couple of times. It's just that on the link that it's in, reporting there, that link just doesn't open. Whenever we click on it,
This button here this window here doesn't open.
The enter API key. The window does not open.
So it is possible that maybe you have a pop-up blocker that's blocking it. So turn off your pop-up blocker temporarily.
Okay, we'll try that. Sorry. So let me just carry on and I'll get back to you if I can.
And if it doesn't, excuse me, reach back out to me and we can do some stuff afterwards. No problem. So that's the two things that we've got. We can get the property transaction information, we can get the contact information, just depending on what it is you need, to report on. And not everybody needs to report on both of them, but getting it now, and this is where all the magic happens and kind of the fun stuff. So we've got the tab here for property data. One thing that I do personally like to do on this is these tabs down at the bottom, you can kind of see I've got some color to these. There's some blue, some green. I do that. Blue ones are listing, green or property or the transactional stuff. The data elements on these, I will typically colorize them red just so that I can visually get to them quickly. Just as a little hint there, any of these that you've got that are that are data related that Realvolve fills in. You might put those in as red or whatever color you want, but just a way to differentiate them down at the bottom so you can quickly scroll through them and see them as you want. So transactional, in this case, I typically do a green one of some sort, color green, and transaction commission color green. Don't have to do it, but definitely it makes it easier to kind of sort through them. So now, by having this data in here, if I look at the Realvolve property data, I've got, in this case, I've got these listings that came in, filled in automatically. I can now go to any of these, what were previously blank, and look at where my data is. So because I've got data in those tabs, if you look at some of the formulas here, it's looking at, okay, give me the unique names in the settings tab for G2 on down. So it fills in the 2 names that I had in my settings. Then each one of these are basically formulas. So I said count ifs. These are special Google Sheet commands. Go out and count the data in the property data, column B, and also look at the information on, actually no, this, okay. So this is counting if S, which means count if there is some data in there, in that property data on column B. I want to look for certain information. This is the if part. So it's looking on A3. If I look at A3, it's looking for Joe Agent. And it says if the column is Joe Agent and the data in column I is B2, and if we look at B2 here, it's active. So I'm going to do one more thing here just so that I can show you this side by side, is I'm going to open up this spreadsheet one more time. And this will make a little bit more sense if I do it this way, I believe. So I'm going to draw these out and put them kind of side by side this way, so I don't have to do anything. Got it. And I'm going to come over here to my Realvolve property data. So looking at these formulas, count if S, looking at the column B, if I look here at column B, it's got the names of the agents. So what it's doing here is it's saying, okay, if column B contains whatever's in A3 is Joe Agent, then add it up. It's just a counted. So in this case, there are 4 active properties that are listed to Joe Agent. So it's looking at this column, and then you'll see that it says, okay, also look at column I. So I come over here to I, and whatever data's in B2. So active, so it's coming through this column I, and looking for any properties that have active on them. 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's some that are to unknown. There's only 4 that are actually under Joe Agent, so that's why it's 4. And then it does the same type of thing for sum if the data is there. So sum up column F. So if we look at column F here, it's the list price. It's going to sum up that. If the B2 or the B column, which again is the agent, is in A3. And I know I'm jumping around here, but these are some standard Google spreadsheet types of calculations and formulas that you can use in any number of ways. You can copy and paste these types of things in things. So if you've got some other reports that you currently do and you need to grab the active properties for a certain person, boom, just copy that. You may need to, check to make sure it's the right cells or the right columns, but that's what that's there for. Does that make sense? I know I'm hitting you hard there. Okay, so here's one where this particular one says, okay, property summary by status. So I get every status by every agent and showing me where they're at in the process. Then, if we scroll on over a little bit more, I go ahead and have a column specially for the summation of the active and pendings, and just so I know what active and pending is, and then what my total is for everything. So this is just a special column just to get the summation of what my active and pending are, and this one is what's actually including the closed. So you can, if there's columns here you don't want, you can yank them out. If there's columns you need to add, you can go in there and add them and figure out the formulas that you need. Most of the time it's either sum. In this case, we're summing two fields, the C3 and E3. We're just doing a summation of those two fields and putting them into this active pending. On the total, we're summing everything from C3 and to E3. Oh, hang on. There we go. Summing everything from C3 and I3. That's interesting. We're not pulling in the I'm not sure what the heck I was doing there, because actually, honestly, this is not correct. What we want to do here is we want to, I'm gonna correct this. Let's say equals, because we do have some extra columns. If we sum everything from this, it's going to add in those threes that are in there. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to say equals this plus this plus this, and I don't want my expired and withdrawns, so I'm just going to press that. So now then, I've got that in there. The nice thing that you can do, because the way spreadsheets are set up, so you'll see that it's looking at basically column three different column C, E, and G. The row 3, if I know that this one's wrong as well, it's doing the exact same thing. I can just grab this little handle, this little square box that's right there, and drag it down, and it will do the same type of formula for row 4. So it just kind of copies that formula. So yeah, those were definitely off. And actually, these are the same way, C3 and E3, because it's doing a range, summing the range, and it's actually including that value that's in there. So these are actually, both of these are wrong. I need to correct that in the master. Equals this plus this, press enter, and then I'm just going to bring this down so it does the right thing.
So Mark?
Yes.
This is Kathleen. I'm showing up as guest for some reason. I don't know how to change that. But I am not going to be able to do this probably. So I have now I have my version, and I assume that I'm going to save it. But are all my formulas going to be wrong?
The formulas on these two are going to be wrong. What I can do is correct the master and have you just download a new master. Or if you want, I will actually just give everybody access to this this spreadsheet, and you can just copy. You can just go to these and copy these. But they're just it's just an equal sign plus the cells that you want to add them in.
Can we
just I get it. Just definitely, if you're doing spreadsheet stuff, it's really advantageous for users to understand some basics of Google Sheets. You don't have to learn the entire thing, but definitely like some, or just the ability to add certain cells together is great. So like even on this, you could set up a thing here where I say equals. Anytime you put an equal sign in a cell, it means, hey, I'm going to start a calculation. This is going to be some kind of mathematical thing. And I can, once I say equals, I can say sum, and then I can give it a range. So I'm going to pick like these two and then close that and press enter. So things like this is fairly standard spreadsheet pieces. If you don't know how to do it, reach out to somebody. I mean, they teach it in high school and college. A college student should be able to knock this out pretty easily with data. If you've got some kids that are going through school, definitely there.
You're it for me. I actually took a whole course at community college, and they did not explain this.
Really?
Yeah.
So my whenever I went through college, which this is crazy. I don't feel as old as I am. That's scary. I took I was a double major in business and computers and minor in accounting, and I got to cost accounting. As like, guys, I don't like cost accounting. This is not something for me. But I did take a spreadsheet, course, and it was amazing to learn the stuff. Not that I remembered any of it, and even now, if there's something that I need, like how do you sum two cells, I'll go out to. Not that one, I know that one, but if there's something I don't know how to do, I'll go out to Google, do a quick search for what I'm looking for, and there'll be a video for it. It's great. So, that type of stuff. But here's the other thing that I will offer you guys, especially for you guys that are attending live. If you need help on some calculations or something, if you want to email me and share the link with me of the spreadsheet, I can help you through some of the math parts. It's super simple.
Great, thank you.
So just there. So this is the thing that this is a very basic one right here. I'm going to go over to this next one down here where it says property summary by date range. So here's yet the next level of what you can do. So not only do I put in, Joe Agent and have the stuff in there, I can say based off of now, and this comes off of this, let me come over here on this one here just so I can keep them both open at the same time. The Realvolve transaction, Realvolve property, contact, settings, right here. Realvolve settings. So here you'll see that we've got a section in the setup for date ranges. So the last 7 days, well, what it does is it does a little math of whatever the current date is, which is right here. There's a little today calculation. It says, okay, this is today's date. What's the last 7 days? And it figures up just mathematical formulas on how to calculate those, the last 30 days, on down to year to date, stuff like that. What it does then is it uses these range names, but it's using these as the fill in the gaps pieces. So if I come over here and say based off of last quarter, this is the last quarter, the last month, and the year to date, I want to see what my actives are. Maybe I want to see what my pendings are. I can change, I can even do this type of thing where I can see different elements of this. So year to date, active. Okay, actually, so this is all. This doesn't do me much good on year to date here because I need to go to last year because I'm using last year stuff. This year, go to last year, sorry. So then what it does is it does the math, so you can do different types of things. Or if you wanted to use a custom date range, so in this case, I want to do maybe January of last year to something. I can put in the the date range for a custom range if I wanted to and put in here. So any of these are filled in. If you want to, I mean, you could just go in here and manually type in a range and not worry about these drop downs. But the drop downs are there so that you can pull from that settings section. So I'm going to, and the other thing that this is doing is based off of values that are in here, it goes ahead and uses that value then for some charting. So you can set up different types of chart. Since I'm doing, I don't know that it's got active, kind of see where things are at compared to multiple years. If you wanted to do that, there's lots of possibilities. Active and pending by date range. So here, same type of thing, but it's just the active and pending for a given. Let me go last year. So it shows Joe had a total of 7 properties. 3 of them are still pending. 4 of them are still active. So depending on what you need, you can do lots of different things there. Similar type of thing for the transactional side. So for the most part, I'm going to be doing anything pending or closed. Maybe I want to see everything that closed last year. So I picked that. So I had 290,000 in a seller side, 2 on the buyer side. This is a double-ended deal, and it counts my volume. You know, like I said, my data is not the greatest here. So here's a similar type of thing, but it breaks it down by sides and where those come from. So here's kind of what I want to portray to you guys. It's data. You can manipulate that data however you want in a spreadsheet once you get it into a spreadsheet. Once I get this data, I can pull from it. I can do all kinds of stuff with it and be able to utilize it. Then maybe on a weekly basis, I come in here, I refresh my data, now I can see all my numbers. So it really comes down to deciding what is it that I want to report on. Is there information that you need to give to your broker, to your team lead, whatever, based off of data that's in Realvolve, drop it in here, and then be able to create the spreadsheets that you want and use them however you need to do the things that you need. Does that make sense? Okay, so that was 45 minutes. Is there any questions that I can answer on those? So what I want to do, and go ahead, say it again.
This might be a stupid question, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
All questions are good. Don't worry.
On the property summary by date range that you were just working on, when you did the drop down, and it could be because of my data, I'm not sure. When you did the drop down, like say for last year, and then you had them all on active, and then you changed them to pending and closed, and then back to active. So mine started all at active, and then when I changed it and tried to change it back to active, there is no active anymore. Is that because of the data, or?
Well, that's a great question. If we come over here into your data side, you should have, what it will show you whatever is available in the status column because it's doing a unique search on what's in here.
Okay, so if I'm doing last year and there are no longer any actives, it won't even give me the option?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
So in that case, if you do want that, probably in your search in that extension piece here, if you're wanting to do last year and this year's information, do that, the 2021, 22 option, and then fill the data from that. That way it'll have last year's data and this year's data, so it'll kind of wrap around.
Okay, thank you.
So now, now you might have that active where you didn't have it before because it was just using unique data. Whenever you see the word unique, it's trying to find, like this one here, it's trying to find in the transactions, Realvolve transactions data, it's looking at the G column, and it's deciding what's in there. You could just type in manually everything, but this just allows you to have the choices that are actually valid. It's really what it comes down to.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? I had set up at one point, I probably ought to, let me see if I can find that real quick. Maybe not. I've got multiple screens going at the same time here, so let me pull up one that maybe has some additional master spreadsheet. Is this the one, or is this the same thing? All settings. No, it's the same one. I had created one of the things that I wanted to know, which isn't on this, but I wanted to know in the client database, in the database of all your contacts, where, because this really wouldn't apply to you necessarily other than maybe city, you could say, where are my people at? What city are they in? So you could do a unique based off of city or state or zip or whatever. And that, that's something that we don't really do a lot of data manipulation in Realvolve, but once you dump it in here, then you can go in there. I was wanting to find out how many people were in certain states of our own users, how many of our users were in certain states, and then based off of that, be able to break it down and see additional data. So you can do virtually anything you want once you get the data in there. And it's just a matter of making sure that you bring in, using the add-on, the report add-on, to do this. But this really came out of kind of necessity of agents. They were asking us for, hey, we want to be able to do this, but for us to create the reports that everybody wants is just not realistic. But because Google Sheets has such a flexible interface for being able to create information, some information, add up things, do all the different calculations, filtering, those were all built in. You can certainly do that with, and get somebody, like I said, if you don't have the knowledge, find somebody. There's lots of people that know Google Sheets. If you don't, it's not a huge deal. We can find somebody that can do it for us. So, all right, guys, that's really all I had for you today. If you don't have any other questions, I'm hoping I didn't blow you away with too much information. At least at this point, it's available and it's there for you in the event that you do need it. Does that make sense?
This
Not
is
everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Not everybody needs to know all this, but I want to make sure that it's there. You're more than welcome. I appreciate you saying that. All right, guys. Well,
an API question that's not related to this spreadsheet.
Yeah, sure.
What does the IDX broker API key do?
Okay, so in our integrations, and I was actually going to do probably another training on this as well. So whenever we built Realvolve, it was prior to us having access. We are Realvolve. We also have a sister company called FirePoint. FirePoint is an IDX website system, and I don't want to give too much information here. There may be some additional stuff coming down the road, but prior to having them, we didn't have access to MLSs. There is a company, a single company called IDX Broker, idxbroker.com. And they have access to, I think, like 200 different MLSs out there. And a lot of our agents already had their integrations. They create websites and stuff just like FirePoint does. And one of the abilities that they have is for you to bring in, get your own listing information. So you can log into your IDX broker. Now, this is not the same thing as an IDX website. It's a specific company called idxbroker.com. And they have an API area where you can go in, grab their API, and stick it into this area here. And this is just a temporary one that we use for demonstration purposes. But what it does then is on a nightly basis, you can have this fetch properties nightly, and it will go out to your IDX site and pull any active properties from your IDX broker account, and it will then import them automatically into Realvolve into the properties area. So what I can do here is, actually, let me just do a tag here for IDX broker. Let me clear out this. Actually, I guess all of these are. So what it does then is it will bring in the property photo, and if there's multiple like room photos and stuff like that, it'll fill all that in. It'll also fill in the square footage and some of these basic fields for you. So it gets the data in there for you automatically, but that's about it. I mean, it will save you maybe 2 minutes of data entry.
That's what I was hoping it would do.
Per listing. Now, in the future, and I'm not going to say when in the future, but in the future here, I hope fairly soon, we will actually do the same type of thing with the data that we're getting from FirePoint. So if you have our FirePoint product, being able to bring that data from listings that you have in your MLS and bring it in. But it's your personal listings. It's not we're not doing anything with it. It's just pulling that data so that it fills it in right here, and then from that point forward, you manually maintain it.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Anybody else have anything? Just a couple more minutes. All right, well, awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. If there's anything particular that you really want to learn about or whatever, email us or hop onto our Facebook channel and say, hey, I really would like to have information on blah, whatever blah is. We can go through lots of different things, and if it doesn't meet your need or doesn't have the information that you want, it doesn't do you much good. But we've gotten several questions about being able to do some reporting, so that's why I did today's session on the Google add-on. But if there's any other topics that you guys really want to learn about, post that information into the comments area on our Facebook group, and I would be more than happy to go through those with you guys. So I'm going to call this a wrap, and if there's anything else you guys need from us in the future, just let us know, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.